Okay, so we live in a world that just never stops talking, right? Every single notification is screaming for a response. But what if the answer isn't to talk more, but to find a more intentional way to communicate? Today, we're going to explore something pretty radical: the power of reverent silence, and how some ancient wisdom can totally change the game for us, helping us find real meaning in a world that's just full of noise. So you can probably recognize the stuff on the left, right? That's our modern habit. It's all about that rapid-fire communication, that pressure to have the perfect comeback, like right now. And yeah, those promises we make without really thinking. But then look at the right. That's a totally different approach. It's about intentional speech, actually listening, and speaking from a place of sincerity. The big question is, how do we get from that noisy place on the left to that more meaningful place on the right? Well, let's dive in. All right, let's just set the scene here. We're living in a world that's just drenched in words. There's this constant pressure, isn't there? The pressure to have an opinion on everything, to jump into every conversation, to just add to the noise. You know, our culture absolutely loves the clever comeback, the witty one-liner. It's all about who's the loudest, who's the first to speak. But what if that's not where the real power is? What if there's a totally different path? Turns out, an ancient text offers this really countercultural idea: finding strength not in making more noise, but in the virtue of reverent silence. And that's what leads us to some incredible wisdom from the book of Ecclesiastes. Now, it's super important to frame this correctly. This isn't some strict, harsh rule. Think of it more like an invitation to a deeper, more thoughtful way of being. Okay, so here it is, the core idea. God is in heaven and you are on earth, so let your words be few. Wow, that's powerful. And you know, this isn't just about how we pray. It's a huge principle for all of our interactions, really. It's all about humility, right? About recognizing, hey, my perspective is limited, and then choosing our words with the kind of care they actually deserve. So let's be super clear about what reverent silence actually means. This isn't a command to just stop talking altogether. Not at all. It's about transforming the quality of our words. It's this invitation to shift gears, to move away from that impulsive, almost mindless chatter and towards speech that's really rooted in sincerity, humility, and maybe even a little bit of awe. Okay, so this all sounds great in theory, but how do we actually do it? Like, what does it look like in real life to shift from that hasty, reactive mindset to one of humility in our day-to-day conversations? And this really gets to the heart of the matter. It's not about becoming some master orator or crafting the perfect, eloquent sentence. It's all about the state of our heart. Are we coming from a place of haste, just impulsive, maybe a little careless? Or are we trying to cultivate sincerity, to be quick to listen and slow to speak, making sure that when we do talk, our words actually have weight? Because at the end of the day, that sincerity is worth so much more than fancy words. So we can kind of break this down into 4 key shifts in our perspective. First, we've got to start prioritizing listening over just talking. Then we need to value sincerity way more than eloquence. This whole thing is really grounded in recognizing something bigger than ourselves, a sense of awe that kind of naturally quiets our own frantic energy. And when you put all these together, they help us build a heart of real devotion, getting us out of that thoughtless, reactive habit. So what's the payoff here? What happens when we actually adopt this reverent approach? Well, it's nothing short of a total transformation of how we communicate. We're talking about moving from just making noise to creating something, well, something profound. I love this analogy because it just clicks. Think about a busy marketplace. It's chaotic, right? Constant shouting, people reacting instantly, a lot of it just performative noise. Now picture a cathedral. The moment you walk in, something changes. The grandeur, the quiet, it just makes you lower your voice, move more carefully, with this profound sense of respect. Practicing reverent silence is basically about making an intentional choice to spend more of our time in that cathedral mindset and less in the marketplace. And that's the beautiful result. Adopting that cathedral mindset doesn't shut down communication at all. It actually deepens it. Our words take on a new weight. They become more respectful, more intentional, filled with a kind of genuine devotion and honor that you just can't find in the chaos of the marketplace. Okay, so as we start to wrap this up, let's bring it home. Let's make it personal. I want you to ask yourself, in what areas of your life do you need to practice speaking less and listening more? Seriously, think about it. Is it at work? Maybe with your family? Or how about online? Where could this one simple shift make a huge difference for you? And let's go one level deeper. How can you actively cultivate a heart that approaches God with that reverence and sincerity we've been talking about? It doesn't have to be some huge thing. What's one small daily practice you could start that would help you bring a more thoughtful, quiet heart to your conversations? Maybe this one simple prayer sums it all up perfectly. May my words be few, but deeply felt. In a world that is just obsessed with noise and being heard, what if our goal wasn't to be the loudest voice in the room? What if instead our goal was to be the one whose words actually mattered? That's a pretty powerful thought to leave you with.